F1 ROC, Race of Champions, which is a name akin to ATM machine, is a game released at some point in September of 1992 in North America for the Super Nintendo, which originally released as Exhaust Heat in Japan in February of 1992, so it took quite a long time to get out of Japan. And interestingly, there's a large number of F1 focus games that only released in Japan for the Super Famicom. I'll have to look into that sometime. Anyways, I'm going to start this review by saying I feel bad for this game, because it was released in the same month as Super Mario Kart in the US, and boy is this game not Super Mario Kart. It isn't horrible, but I'm still not exactly sure how to judge 16-bit racing games, if I'm being honest, as my main experience with them in my childhood were Super Mario Kart and Top Gear, which, to my understanding, aren't really representative of most early racing games. In F1 ROC, you're an F1 driver in an F1 season, and the typical gameplay flow is you go to a track, you do a qualifying round, you race, you win some money, as long as you don't damage your vehicle too much, and in the next track, you repeat. Heading in buying some upgrades for your car with the money you won. I'm gonna be honest, the driving physics in this game are kind of weird, in that the driving physics don't really feel like they exist. I think you can tell from the footage, but if you can't, when you turn the car, it feels a lot more like you're turning the world around you, as opposed to the actual car that you're driving. The car doesn't feel like it has any momentum beyond the fact that sometimes you aren't able to make tight turns well if you don't slow down. If I had to guess why they designed the physics this way, it probably has to do with F1 cars being designed as downforce machines, but I'm pretty sure they don't get the levels of grip they have in this game. I don't hate this driving system, and it isn't the worst one I've ever played, but it doesn't feel that good either. Very middle of the road driving mechanics here. Upgrades do feel meaningful, and it's kind of cute that you have to buy new tires at every track, tying in some realism, I guess. I do like that the other upgrades are permanent upgrades that you can switch out as well, and each kind of upgrade feels like it does something, but I can't exactly be sure. Even though I played the game for an hour, I was definitely still learning by the time I hit an hour of play. I'll mention the weather aspect, where sometimes you can race in rain, is pretty interesting, and if it can rain on every course, it means there's technically 32 tracks in this game, counting 16 dry and 16 wet. Race of Champions has a season and point system, although I can't say I know how it works. I'm not exactly sure what happens once you reach the end of a season, and to be honest, I don't want to play this game enough to find out. I think the most negative thing about the game is the lack of music during racing. I'm curious if this is some kind of SNES restriction and not an artistic choice, but Top Gear had music while racing and came out before this game. So my suspicion is the latter, and I think it's a bad choice. The graphics aren't horrible, and I think most of the presentation is pretty good, especially switching out parts on your car, even though some of those animations may be considered a little too long. The racing graphics I can take or leave. They aren't the best or worst thing I've seen on the Super Nintendo, and I guess this is kind of what we're left with. A very average racing game that came out in the same month as the first Mario Kart, which I already know is a much better game. I think I just want more out of racing games than most 16-bit racing games can offer. My teenage years were spoiled by Initial D in the arcade and Gran Turismo and Need for Speed at home. Did you ever play this game as a kid? I'm not sure I ever saw this in any video stores or anything. And do you have a favorite 16-bit racing game that isn't one of the obvious ones? I'm genuinely curious, as I'd like to know if I'm missing out on something great that I simply haven't heard of. Please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you're interested in older obscure games, as that's what I talk about here. Next game's gonna be George Foreman's KO Boxing, a game I know nothing about, so that should be fun. I'll see y'all next time. Have a great day.